Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Pedovich here. Tuesday morning update on our severe weather risk this afternoon. Here's the updated risk from the Storm Prediction Center. See the area in yellow? That's what we call the medium risk or slight, depending on what you're looking at. Level 2 out of 5 from a severe weather standpoint. Tornado risk today, you see the green. That's a 2% chance of seeing a tornado. The brown is a 5% chance. So there is an isolated tornado risk, but look at the wind risk. The red, 30% chance of damaging winds. 15% as we look at the yellow. The hail threat around 5 to 10%, though that is something I'm probably going to say is a little bit higher than looking at right now. We'll look at the satellite image this morning. First couple frames, pretty cloudy with high clouds and smoke out there. That's going to initially keep the thunderstorms at bay, but we do have a big cluster of storms up to our north, already in West Virginia, eastern Kentucky. Keeping an eye on that. That's the disturbance that's going to come down later this afternoon, depending on the sunshine. That's going to be the key part. How much sunshine do we see this afternoon to allow for instability to develop? It won't take much because there's so much wind energy in the atmosphere. And just to give you an idea of that energy, the CAPE we call it, or thunderstorm fuel, you could see as we go into the afternoon, it does build. And in fact, it actually gets higher and higher as that disturbance gets closer. So there's pockets of very juicy air that's going to be moving in this afternoon into the evening. So what do we anticipate? Well, let's look at the short range rapid refresh. We'll back this up here. There's our cluster up in West Virginia. You see it diving south. We'll stop this around 10 or 11. This first cluster kind of weakens a little bit around the middle of the day, but a secondary cluster starts to develop right around 2, 3 o'clock. Strong storms in the mountains, also a very strong cell around Winston-Salem area. So you get the idea. There could be embedded supercells, which would have large hail and potentially isolated tornado risk. We'll go to 3 o'clock. You see the cluster of storms developing and traveling southeast. And again, remember, all of these are going to be moving in this general direction this afternoon. So 3 o'clock, we see storms. 4, you see storms. 5, pretty good cluster of storms. 6, 7, 8. So maybe a couple waves of storms. Unlike yesterday, it looked like one and done. There might be a couple different waves. And look how isolated they are. That's actually more problematic because that means supercell structures, which are much more severe than just a straight line of storms coming in. You could see through 7, 8, 9. We'll go to 10 o'clock. The storms are still around. So let's look at a couple parameters. One of the things we look at sometimes is called the significant tornado parameter. You can see as we go into the afternoon, I'm going to stop it here around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll go back here and kind of tally these, 1 to 2s in these yellows. So there is some potential for tornadoes, especially up in the Winston-Salem, Greensboro area. So think of the Triad area as we go into the afternoon hours. That's an area I'm going to watch very carefully because there's been a lot of hints at the guidance of some kind of northwest moving supercell there, maybe large hail, possible tornado risk there. So that's an area from Salisbury, Statesville, Cabarrus County up into the Winston-Salem, Greensboro area. That's an area I would be watching carefully. And we can look at the rotation tracks as well. The model, again, there will be not exactly that location, but you see the area we're watching right in here, rotation tracks showing up on some of our future radar imagery and some of our modeling. So we're watching these storms to the northwest, how they behave, how the cloud cover behaves this afternoon is going to be key because sunshine will be a big part of this as we go into the afternoon hours. And again, I'll loop this as we go through the day. You can see the cluster of storms moving across. Midday, the storms try to make a run at us. I'll slow this down. 2, 3 o'clock, the first storms develop, but they last through the evening hours. So the timing is still there. It just looks like we could see waves of rain. So stay weather aware for scattered to isolated thunderstorms. Not everybody is going to see storms, but the ones that develop today potentially could be severe because of all that wind energy in the atmosphere.